The mantra is done in Sanskrit language. It's apparently the first language, and it has a very powerful resonance. It's more powerful than even the word, the English language. Is made of the element space. So it's very, very spacious. Whereas the language of the English is water sound. It's more watery. It's very fluid. It rolls off the tongue really easily. Whereas Sanskrit is very airy and spacious. So when we chant in Sanskrit, it really starts to invoke that space element. And as I explained yesterday and the day before, space is also our consciousness and awareness. It's the same sort of energy. It's that infinite potential. Space has an infinite potential. You know, the boundaries are, we can't find a boundary. Space just means infinite. And so Sanskrit has that same vibration. Now, usually when we chant mantras, there's different purposes for chanting the mantras. Some of them are like universal prayers. Some of them are to ignite the potential within the sound, and we call those bija sounds. Now, the malas, so usually when you chant mantras, you use your mala to keep track of how many times you have recited it. Because what happens is after a while, when you start to do the mantra starts doing you. And what do I mean by that? It is like, it's almost like you get into that rhythm, and the rhythm becomes you. The best I can explain it is when you watch a music player, like someone's, you know, hitting the drum. And I'm not sure if you've ever watched a drummer. Sometimes it's like the drummer and the drum become one. It's like there's no more separation. And that's the power with mantra. When you start to recite it, it's like you become the mantra, and the mantra starts moving the words. It's moving your tongue. And this is when you get really profound experiences by reciting the mantra. And that might take a little while. But what they did was they made the mala. There's a specific number of beads on the japa mala. They call this a japa mala, 108 beads. And so usually we do 108 rounds of a mantra, which is a complete mala. And then when you're at the end is when you get to the guru bead. This is usually the 108th bead. Now, why the number 108? 108 is a very auspicious and divine number. 1 stands for the one absolute Brahmana from which we all came. The 0 stands for the great void of nothingness. And the 8 stands for eternity, that this is eternal. Yes. And so 108, it's also said that everything collapses back to 108. So there is 9 planets, 333. If you do 9 plus 9 plus 9, eventually get to 108. 1 plus 8 is 9. When we do 3, you notice in yoga, we do everything in threes, right? We do 3 rounds of Om, because 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3 eventually gets to 108. So it's a derivatory of that sacred number. It is said that the temple has 108 steps. There is apparently there's 108 something distance between the earth and the sun. There's 108 star constellations, and the list goes on and on about that number. And this is why 108 is considered an auspicious number. But if you don't have time to do 108, you can do it in half. You can do 54 rounds, 27 rounds, or you can do even 12 rounds. They all add back up to 108. A little bit more about the 4 ways to chant it. So people think that when you chant them out loud, that it's more powerful and that you get more out of it. And that's actually not true. They say that it's really nice to do out loud when you're with a great group of people. Then, it multiplies, the vibration multiplies. But they're saying that when you take the mantra inward and you chant it silently, it's just as powerful. And one other thing that really is interesting that happens is when you chant it out loud, there's a certain rhythm. And it might take you a lot longer to go from one beat to the next. And then suddenly you go internal and you find that you're flying faster through the mantra. That is normal. It will speed up. When you start to bring the mantra internally, you go much faster. So if that starts to happen, that's totally normal. But to learn a mantra, it's very helpful to do it out loud first, to have that kinesthetic experience of moving the muscles of the jaw, and to move your tongue, and it brings a memory into the body. Then you're able to get from that experience, creating sound vibrates your cellular body, which gets a lot of benefits. There is then a memory planted. And sometimes just saying the first word, the whole mantra can appear. Many times I've forgotten the first word and then someone says the first line and I'm like, oh, it's back. So it's really helpful to do it out loud first, but then eventually you can take it softer. And when we go softer, we go to the level of the heart. We start to feel that softness. It brings out that quality of devotion when we go softer and we whisper it. And then when we go internally, then the mantra starts to move us deeper into that state of inner awareness. And what starts to happen is it goes into your conscious awareness. And sometimes you can wake up in the middle of the night and suddenly you're reciting internally a mantra. That's happened so many times to me. I'll wake up and I'm like, oh, I'm chanting the Gayatri mantra in my consciousness. And that is the power of doing mantra, is that it's like a CD that is running in the background and is still moving through. And this is how powerful mantra is. And it refines you. It's fine tuning, just like you take your car in to get tuned so that it runs smoother. When you do mantra, it's like you're fine tuning not only your physical body, your mental body, your energy body, and then you can move into deeper states of awareness.